Here is the one question you should be asking the early stage investor. In this video, this is about the question that you are going to be asking a friends, family, and associates, or fool's investor, FFA as they're affectionately called, the angel investor, and you are raising pre-seed or seed round. It's really important for you to understand this is for early stage, because when you get to later stages, such as your A round, B round, the questions are completely different. Before we continue, my name is Ed Kang, 7-time funded founder with 2 exits. That's just a fancy way of saying I failed a bunch of times, and that's the reason I like to use these videos to educate all early stage founders, especially the early stage founders, about raising funds, getting traction, and avoiding the catastrophic mistakes that I've made. Not to say you're not going to make mistakes, but I'm going to try to make your life a little bit easier because it's tough enough as it is. Let me make a confession. I actually lied. This isn't about the one question. It's 2 questions. The first question I'm going to share with you is the good one that everybody else recommends that you ask. And this is a good question. The second one, however, I think is a better question because it's the one I always ask. And it's a better question not because I always ask it, but because I think you get a little more information. And I lied again. It's technically 2 questions in one. It's a compound question. But if you stick around to the end of this video, I'm going to give you the follow-up questions you want to ask at the end of your pitch. Let's get into the first question. The first question is, other than your capital, how else would you help us succeed? It's a great question. This is for the early stage investor because at that stage, you are going to need help from many different directions. And typically what happens is in the early stages, it's not one person or one entity signing the checks. You're going to have multiple checks. So you need things such as advisory, contacts, different relationships, networking, all those good things come into place. And what it does is it helps the early stage investor, let's say that angel, start to think about the other ways they're going to help you. And you're inviting them into a relationship with you to work together. You're also putting them on the spot there because you're giving them a bit of a signal saying, you know what, I'm interviewing you as much as you are interviewing me. And that creates that FOMO, and investors start to think, if this founder is asking that question, I wonder what other investors are saying to them, and I better put my best forward because you're interviewing each other. I like to say this all the time. For the investor, the process is often the product. Many investors think, well, the product that I'm selling is my capital, and it's just not the case at early stages. How they conduct themselves, how they help you is just as much a part of their investment as their hard-earned dollars that they're going to be trusting you with. Not to say those hard-earned dollars aren't important, but you want to push that conversation a little bit more and go a little bit deeper with this question. Like I said, it is a good question. But here is the question that I ask at the early stage. What does success look like for your investment, and how would we work together to achieve it? And there are multiple reasons I ask this. First, it's an open-ended question. What does success look like for your investment? The reason I ask it this way is that at an early stage, I usually encounter a whole bunch of different investment theses, as well as the different types of investments these early stage investors want to make. Sometimes they're looking for a quick return to get paid back. Maybe it's on a convertible. They just want to provide some debt financing for you. Other times they're going full hog on it and they want you to go and raise investment with another, let's say, venture capital firm and keep going up your A, B, C, D, E rounds until you go public or you're acquired. Other times, investors just want a dividend. They're not looking for that 10x or 50x return. They're happy with a 2x, a 2.5x, 3x return, and therefore you want to be adjusting yourself accordingly. Therefore, asking this question, what does success look like for you and this investment, helps them give you a little bit of context, especially at that early stage, and then you can manage the conversation and determine whether that investment's right for you or whether you want to actually work with that investor and provide that success scenario they're looking for. The second part of this question ties to the first question we talked about, and that is, how would we work together to achieve this version of success that you're looking for? Put it all together. What does success look like for your investment, and how would we work together to achieve it? When they start sharing, well, I'm looking for this type of return, then you can ask, well, then what can we do together to achieve that? And they may say, well, I'll introduce you to some other people. I got some customers in mind. Let's say they're saying, I want you to go raise another $2 million or $5 million because I want this to go all the way, go public. Then you're asking, how can we achieve that together? Do they even have a network to help you and introduce you to those subsequent rounds? This is a very important conversation because you're starting to pull on that yarn and figure out, okay, what am I working with? Remember, you want to act like they need you more than you need them. Instead of typical situation, you need that investor more than they need you. You want to even the playing field and say, you know what? I've got questions, and there are other investors that I'm talking to that bring these intangibles to the table, and I want to know, are we a fit? How are we going to work together? And that's very important. Your response as they are sharing this should be, we can do that with you. If you authentically and earnestly believe that you can achieve their best case scenario, if you can do that, you want to affirm what they're saying and take a lot of notes and say, we can do that with you. Let's do it together. And then the relationship becomes collaborative and you start brainstorming and, oh, I could introduce you here. We could do this there. And you start to say, great, this is a collaborative investor. It's not just smart money, it's collaborative money that they're putting together, and you're going to enjoy that relationship, which is so important because when you bring on an investor, you're bringing on your own boss or multiple bosses. You want a great working relationship with that boss. Now, as I said, I got some follow-up questions for you. This is at the end of the pitch, so you avoid what I call founder purgatory. That's that weird gray zone where if you haven't asked the right question and you're not clear what the next steps are, because investors are typically polite and they want to be nice, they may not give you a flat out no or rejection right there on the spot, but you're sitting there and you're going to wonder, all those weeks go by, do I follow up with them? Are they going to follow with me? Here are the questions you ask at the end of your presentation. The first one being, what is the next step? This is after you ask them if they need any more clarification, what they think, all that stuff. If they're genuinely positive, you ask them, what is the next step? Just straightforward. The next question you ask them, when will that happen? You want to put a timestamp on it. Time-measured goals, time-measured commitments are much more powerful, and you want to hold them to it. If they say, oh, you know what, we're going to get together with our committee, and we usually talk every Monday morning, you say, then great. When will you contact us and let us know? You're going to get them to commit to time. That is very important. Hold them to it. Or you can ask a derivative of this question and say, when should I follow up with you? Next, how do you decide? You want to ask a general question, open-ended, about what their process is and how they make the determination on what is going to happen next and when it will happen. How do you decide? If they haven't told you already, for example, that investment committee, or they say, I'm going to run it up the chain and talk to a senior partner, or we're going to get some more analysts on this, we're going to do some due diligence. Those are the details that you want because it's going to make you comfortable. It's going to help you understand their process so you can contribute. You can say, well, we have our due diligence or deal room totally ready. How about I send you that link? You're going to be listening to them and figuring out how you can insert yourself and help them with their decision-making process. Finally, the last question, who else is involved? And this is a final question where if they haven't told you, they need to, because you want to make sure that if you're talking to someone and they can't make the decision themselves, well, who else is involved? They may say, like I said, they're going to run to investment committee or up the chain, or they have some type of senior executive out there, a partner. They have a senior partner that they have to talk to. You're going to get that question answered because, again, it just gives you more information to help ease that level of stress and tension that you're going to be experiencing. And maybe you know the person in terms of what they might need, or you can start to give them other details and information that might help that senior advisor or that executive or the technical analyst that's going to be coming. For example, let's use the last one. They say, we're going to bring in a technical analyst on that. Well, then how about I send you our technical documents, etc. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get answers, perfect answers for all these 4 questions, but it's a method of inquiry. This is a system of questions that you can begin to ask so you can round out that information and figure out what is the best way for you to move forward and to manage all that stress that you're going to be experiencing. Now, here's the thing. There is actually a real question investors are asking in their mind that often doesn't translate to the conversation. They don't answer it, you don't ask it, and you end up kind of crisscrossing paths and not getting to the real crux of the matter. I'm going to link another video to that right over here. Just click on that and you can start to learn more about how to engage with investors. If you enjoyed this video, please do the social media thing, like, comment, subscribe. It's really helpful. And if you're with me in any of these Startup Accelerator programs, such as startups.com, thank you very much. Appreciate your support. I'll see you in the next video.